Hello everybody, the Reading and Writing Center here, and today we're going to be going over one of the lenses that we use in tutoring, called play-by-play. And the way that play-by-play works, just in the gist of it, is we'll sit down and we'll read through a piece of text, usually a student's essay, and you can use this on your own essays or on other types of writing, to just kind of record your raw reactions to a piece of writing and kind of get your thoughts down as you're going along. And this is really useful for a lot of reasons. It helps to check for clarity and understanding and just to kind of get down some information. If you're using this to check on your own writing, you can use it to check for clarity, or if you're working with a tutor, you can ask to use this to look for certain types of concerns and make sure the reader is responding the way that you're hoping that they will. And reacting in the ways that you want them to. And if you're using this as a study tool, it's particularly useful for getting information down and writing towards something like a reader response essay or a rhetorical analysis, because it helps to gauge the type of response that you as a reader have to another person's writing. And we'll go into a little bit of detail about how this can be used for either. But essentially, play-by-play is a paragraph-by-paragraph experience where we as readers go through and we record, what reactions we have as we read through the text. And we can use words like lost, curious, surprised, amused, and so on and so forth. So we might be reading through something and say something like, I'm feeling confused here because this sentence was unclear, or something like that. Or I'm feeling inspired by this because, and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into some examples. So here I have an example essay, and we're going to go ahead and go through this using play-by-play. Now, you can do this in a bunch of different ways. If you've got a piece of paper, you can write down your reactions on that if you're doing an in-person session, or you can open up a second Word document or a text document and record your reactions there if you're doing it digitally or on paper or whatever. My personal preference is to use the comments tool in Word, so I just select somewhere in here and create a new comment, and I'll record my observations here at the end of the paragraph. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first step is to read the paragraph, of course. So the use of flashback as an expository device in literature is not uncommon. Indeed, it may be considered. The cultural implications of this method of narration are strong and far-reaching. Okay, so now I just record my reaction to that. So as you can see, all I did was record my initial reactions. So overall, I'm feeling pretty confident that your essay is going to be talking about the use of flashback as a narrative device. I'm a little confused by what you meant about it having cultural implications, though, and hope that any questions I have about it will be answered later in the essay. And so then what I'll do is I'll repeat this process for the rest of the essay in its entirety. And so essentially at this point, all I've done up to now is read through each paragraph and just paraphrase what it is that I think they're saying. And so what I would be doing from here is going through the rest of the essay, or just recording my reactions to pretty much the rest of the essay. Using play-by-play isn't just useful on your essays or other people's essays, but you can also use it to go through and look at things written by other people if you're doing like a reader response type essay, or you're doing a critical analysis or a rhetorical analysis of some kind. You can use play-by-play to get a feel for the reactions that you as a reader have to a piece of writing. So on screen we've got a copy of Letter from Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr. From the African Studies Center of University of Pennsylvania. And so I would go about this pretty much the same way. I would read through the first paragraph and then record my response. So let's see that in action. And so at this point I would repeat the process and just continue through the rest of this piece of writing, continuing to record my responses as a reader, and then when I get to the end of it and it's time for me to sit down and write my reader response or my rhetorical analysis, I can take all of these notes that I have on the side and turn them into paragraphs in the essay. If at any point you wanted to go back and look at the way that some of these are modeled, you can go ahead and rewind the video and feel free to pause it at any point. But more or less, that's how you would go ahead and use play-by-play to read through not only your own essay, but essays of other people. And for more information, or if you're curious on where you can find these handouts, including the play-by-play response, you can find them on the Madeira No Cursed online tutoring page, which you can find if you go to the Madeira Center and make your way over to Student Services, Academic Success Center's Tutoring Services from the Madeira Center homepage, and scroll down to where you see the self-enroll. Clicking on this will enroll you in the Madeira No Cursed Online Tutoring Center's Canvas page, and once you're enrolled, you can go to your courses, select the course, and you should be able to find all of the handouts from the Reading and Writing Center under the Modules section, including the play-by-play. And they're all alphabetized, and each one of them has their own use and function, and we should be able to find one that works for you. Keep an eye out for more videos on different lenses that you might be able to use in your own writing and in your study in the near future. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.